Greg Morell's on the bus. Obviously, his business has benefited dramatically from the need for housing, the need for food service, for the need for a lot of the catering, a lot of different things that they do, right on down through high technology types of manufacturing that's going on here right now. You went past where you saw Chesapeake Energy right next to his Metadine is a company that we brought here about 18 years ago. We built the building for them. They're completely into rock drilling. They make the carbide tips that go into the mandrels that you saw the drill heads today. They also recycle the drill heads in a proprietary process. So they get drill heads from Louisiana, Texas. They all come to Bradford County, Pennsylvania, because nobody else does what they particularly do. The other interesting fact with that company locally is that they make carbide that goes to Center Rock Drilling. Center Rock is the company that got the miners out in Chile. What's interesting about that is that the Chilean miner, the carbide was in the tips, came from Metadine Corporation, and the rig that drilled those guys out was a SRAM rig, which also came from Westchester, Pennsylvania. So there's a history of it, even though this part of the state is not oil and gas savvy over time. But from the standpoint of local economic development impacts, I don't think there's too many businesses that have not been impacted in some way. And you know, everything from fuel sales to tire sales to oil field jewelry, which is something that is an interesting concept. This one lady downtown that saved her business by manufacturing, that's a drill head, that's a keychain, okay? She's also makes these pendants with diamonds in them that look like drill rigs. And if I took one home to my wife, she'd probably say, let's melt it down, make something, that's attractive. But the guys buy it. They buy it. They have bracelets. They buy the stuff, and they buy it for a premium. So, something as entrepreneurial, creative as that, all the way up through Metadine, GTP, Global Tungsten Powders in North Towanda. They make cobalt, molybdenum. They make a lot of carbide products, and they've been in the rock drilling industry for a long time. The irony is they've been sending their products all over the world. And the bigger irony is that the raw material doesn't even come from this area. It comes from all over the world too. But now they're making products that are used right here in the oil fields, right around in their backyard, which is sort of everything's kind of 180 degrees or whatever. But it's been incredible as far as the amount of investment. What we've seen is local banks. One thing, and I can give you positives and I'll give you negatives, but obviously there's been a lot of bonus money that's been paid to landowners, on their leases. People working in the banks, farmers paying off loans, putting money in time accounts, doing things, looking for, and it's created some problems for the banks because they have all these deposits, and it costs them money to have these deposits. The banks make money by getting money on the street, charging you basically fees, and investing that money. And of course, the investment window has been down also, so they can't really get the returns. In some cases, there's a lot of capital to be thrown around in these different communities, and they're looking for ways to do that. There's just probably a million small success stories over small businesses that have converted, people that have started niche businesses. And this industry is really, as much as you'd like to think that it's the big Chesapeakes, or they talk in terms of majors, which is Chevron and different oil companies, it's really a business. It's an industry of very small niche businesses supporting the industry. Some lady asked me on the bus, how many companies are here now? Just 4 or 5? I gave away, and I have to apologize. Our building was flooded, and we lost a lot of it. Basically, it's a brochure that we had that does an expo where we had over 370 exhibitors this year at the Troy Fairgrounds. It's a business-to-business expo, just pure company-to-company kind of expo. It's done in June, and it was very, very successful. So, there's literally hundreds of companies here right now. The biggest problem that we have with trying to articulate what's going on here is the demographics. We just have bad data. If you ask me what our population in this county is right now, I can't tell you. It used to be 62,000 people. I mean, you're not seeing a lot of people on the hillsides and everything, but a lot of it is, I bet you we're close to 75 or 80. And in many cases, because of our lack of housing in the area, we have people migrating here from the Binghamton area, from the Elmira area, from the Waynesboro area, because they're urban areas. They're areas that have housing stuff. But don't let the companies, or not the companies, but don't let people tell you that they don't hire you. I personally know a number of people that are working in the oil fields that transition from other industries. A lot of people out of government. Most of the guys that gave you your tour today are from Pennsylvania, are from Tunkhannock, they're from all around here. They were hired. I've been offered positions. Okay, so the point being is that they look for people locally to get involved with the industry. The other thing that they do is they do use local businesses. Initially it's a little slow because people don't understand the demands. Doing businesses with some of these oil companies is a lot more difficult than doing business with a public utility. Master service agreements are complicated. You need lots of insurance. You need lots of things that are standard, that are a lot higher than traditional building type or business types of activity. We've seen all sorts of forms of investment, and now we're starting to see secondary investment. We're starting to see investment being made on another level that might not be as related to the oil industry as we may have thought, because there's capital, even private capital, involved in developing other types of businesses. Obviously, we're seeing new hotels in the area. We're seeing now the discussion of housing tracts and apartments. It has dramatically inflated our real estate prices in the area. There's no doubt about that, but we knew that was going to happen. We're starting to see the separation of surface rights and mineral rights. Never saw that before. I had one person tell me, well, you'll never be able to sell a property without the mineral rights. I was directly involved in Chesapeake buying their acreage for all the new headquarters up in Athens, and they didn't get any minerals. Okay? And we know 2 other sales that we had, which you may have seen up in the valley, the old rail yards. We were involved in cleaning the rail yards up and sold it. We sold it with no minerals. So these companies come here with no expectations of getting the minerals because they can't get them where they come from. So that's part of the issue. We're starting to see more and more sales where people offer them in some capacity with full sale prices. So that's going to create some sort of a dilemma for the future, I think, with real estate assessments, because the assessed values of properties in this county, the minerals are not part of that assessment. So there's going to be some sort of a dynamic to that in the future that I think we need to prepare ourselves for a little better. Some of the area colleges have put together some programs that deal with oil field technology. Penn College has. They've enhanced a lot of their existing programs. Lackawanna College has a 2-year technical degree with oil field technology. And I can tell you, people ask me for statistics. Well, our unemployment rate is about 5.6 right now in this county. It was, I think, as low as 5.1, and there's been some fluctuation. But I don't think they say it gets below 4. You're dipping into the unemployable. Okay, the other interesting statistic that nobody knows is that fact that I told you that our building got flooded, and I got close to talking to the director of our county assistance office. That's the welfare office for the county, DPW, the Pennsylvania Department of Public Welfare. She told me, and she really they weren't real proud of this because it's job preservation for them, but it's a great statistic that their requests for public assistance are at an all-time low. What does that tell you? Okay, it tells you that people are becoming employed. Maybe they're being displaced. There is some of that going on. I know that for a fact. But they're taking in work from other counties in our welfare office because they don't have that much demand for their services here within the county. And another if you will, statistical thing that I heard the other day was there's a lady that's a local bank manager in Canton, Pennsylvania. Both her boys had gone to Penn College for some sort of training in oil field technology. I think one was just heavy equipment operation. And she said both her boys graduated from there. Both her boys were employed in the oil field. And, yeah, you have to take a and both of her boys bought houses in town. So I don't know what would be a better testimony to try to tell you what, as an economic developer, what we try to do. That's it. Is to provide opportunities, and it's just what this has done. From a high school standpoint, this is interesting. You're headed for Dimmock. Dimmock is the hotbed, if you will, of controversy, where Cabot Oil got into trouble down here with some bad cement jobs, okay, which caused some methane migration in the area. just to digress a second, I live in Franklin Township. It's probably, I think there's 4 rigs working within 2 miles of my house right now. And there's a well at the bottom of 414, at the bottom of the hill, that 25 years ago has a pipe coming out of it with a vent that is, because there's methane in that water. You can draw it from the tap, shake it in a plastic jug, and light it. That's always been there. There's never been any drilling in that area up until the last couple of years. So it's a natural occurrence, although there are things that can cause it to increase with drilling. We did it was a workforce expo down here at this high school, at this Elk Lake High School that has the well. And we spent a weekend there trying to educate kids on opportunities in the natural gas or the energy industry. When we had a session where 350 of the kids came to it, and they had Cabot was represented, Chesapeake was represented, and Talisman was represented, and they were just asking questions. They gave the kids like a 101 deal, and they let them ask questions about the industry. What I found amazing was that these kids knew very little about the industry. You can't assume that because there's a rig in their backyard or in their community that they have any idea of what's really going on. And here's an area that's probably the #1, media written about, if you will, location in the country right now. And their high school kids don't know anything about really the technology that's out there doing it. And that's something that I see as a huge void in our school districts. Is at least, work in Texas. When we went down there, one of the great observations is the fact that everybody's grandpa worked in the oil field. They all are oil field savvy. They know the terminology. They know what a rat hole is. They know everything about it because they grew up with it. It's like agriculture that was around here. But here, no, they don't. You can't assume that's the situation. Another thing that we were able to learn about was we received some special funding. We went to Calgary to it was the North American, it's called the GO Expo, Gas and Oil Expo. It has to do with oil and gas exploration, and it's an expo for all of North America. And we were able to glean a lot of things from there. We went out there mainly for trying to gain companies that had an idea of oil and gas, of water recycling and water restoration for the area. And what we noticed was that the industry wasn't visible, not like Texas, like Pennsylvania. Meaning that Pennsylvania, it's kind of hidden here. People think that the hilltops are shaved off and that there's all this devastation. Well, that's the difference. The difference is that this industry is kind of hidden here, where in Texas it hits you right in the face. You see the rigs, there's pipelines, there's everything, because it's flat, it's arid, there's really no place to hide. Here, it's not as aesthetically impacting like it is in other parts of the United States. And the same thing exists in Western Canada. The big factor there was that, here there was about 3 years ago, there was a leasing principle. A lot of economic activity, a lot of money being developed on the leasing frenzy. Well, that created an initial stir here, and we saw a lot of economic benefit. Now we're starting to see the benefit of the drilling going on, and ultimately there are some royalties being paid. There are some active wells in this area, even at a $3.50 MCF pricing mechanism. But keep in mind, in Canada, and we have freehold minerals here. They kept using the term freehold. We own our minerals. We own the center of the earth and to infinity in most cases. A lot of states, some don't have that. In Canada, you don't own your minerals. The Crown owns it, the government owns it. So just without having any leasing activity or mineral access, meaning landowner payments, but there's only 3 ways you make money with it. Is 2 ways actually: landowner payments and business-to-business activity. Other than that, you're not making any money. All it is true business-to-business activity, and you can see the prosperity in Calgary. So the point being is that it's only a matter of time before things even intensify as far as the amount of economic impact to this region, to this area. And that's and that was, again, it was another big observation. Another thing that is from a land planning standpoint, because I come to you as an economic developer, but I was county planner for about 12 years, and then also a landowner and a parent, is clearly that a lot of the concern that is generated in this region for and you're going to make that right. When you get to